Good evening, respected principals, parents, and my dear friends. Welcome to the webinar Effective Online Learning. It is our honor to be with you today. Let me introduce you to the team. Ms. Hina Desai has been an active contributor in the field of education since the last 23 years. She is a dedicated educationalist committing to the cause of child education and student development. Ms. Nida Fatima Jafar has a bachelor degree in arts and education. She is also a CELTA certified and Cambridge qualified English teacher. She has trained students for IELTS, KET, PET, and FCE exams. Our vision for the Birla Brainiacs app is to have holistic learning with focus on student engagement and knowledge building that caters to students' individual needs while making learning fun. Our mission is to have effortless learning anywhere and anytime under the guidance of expert mentors. This is all possible under the leadership of Mr. Nirvan Birla, who is taking ahead the legacy of the Birla family's contribution in the Indian education system from the brick and mortar model to online artificial intelligence based learning model. Traditional classroom teaching seems like a thing of the past. We were all very skeptical as to how well students will respond to the change. Weren't we in for a surprise? The students adjusted well and showed great progress and discipline. We all doubted whether the learners will truly understand the content, but schools' learning management systems provide rich and real time reporting, which makes it easier for the teachers to devise a plan for timely interventions. E-learning platform also gives us a chance to personalize the content on the learners' interactions. Birla Brainiacs app provides four important interactions in the form of flip tails, query box, live sessions, and peer-to-peer learning. Flip tails is a short story-based approach to content delivery. Query box is used to ask query even after the class is over. Live sessions is where expert teachers come and interact with the students. A well-designed e-learning platform can enhance the learning experience and online learning can become enjoyable. I now invite Ms. Nida to facilitate the webinar and enlighten us as to how we can make online learning effective. In this webinar, we will get to know more about why e-learning is needed, where students struggle, some common problems and their practical solutions, and how parents can help children learn better. You can ask questions by posting them in the comment section. We will try and answer all after the session by Ms. Nida is over. Ms. Nida, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Avinash. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us live today. To begin with, wishing everyone a very happy new year full of happiness. We wave goodbye to the old and embrace the new with hope, dreams, and ambition. And may this year bring us success and good health. Some say that wisdom comes with age, while others insist that it comes from learning. Nowadays, thanks to the internet, learning is open to all. COVID-19 struck us without a warning and has left heads of all education institutions scrambling to respond to its emergencies. It also created a need to creatively deal with such unforeseen and once in a century catastrophic events that are being predicted as the new normal. And since the time the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted the normal lifestyle of people across the globe, it's the virtual world that has come to the rescue. All institutions and schools have now shifted their base to the virtual platforms to conduct online classes. And therefore, I believe school principals deserve nothing less than a pat on their backs for a swift response to the pandemic amid the lockdown restrictions. Their promptness has resulted in a spate of online classes for learners of every level, be it scholastic subjects, co-scholastic areas such as fine and performing arts, to mental wellness and physical fitness. Online education is a boon as it prepares students for 21st century skills. What is the scope of e-learning? And what is the critical 21st century skill? Problem solving, creativity, analytic thinking, collaboration, communication, ethics, action, and accountability. When I say problem solving, every student needs the ability to solve complex problems in real time. Students need to be creative in their thoughts. They need to be able to think and work creatively in both digital as well as non-digital environments to develop unique and useful solutions. Talking about analytic thinking, well, that includes proficiency with comparing, contrasting, evaluating, synthesizing, and applying without instruction or supervision. That is your higher order thinking skills. And why are these skills essential? These types of skills are invaluable because they allow students to deal practically with problems of every nature, be it social, mathematical, and even scientific. And students must possess the ability to even collaborate seamlessly in both physical as well as virtual spaces with real and virtual partners globally. Why are we talking about collaboration and communication? You see, students of the digital age are social by nature. They text, they post, they update, share, chat, and constantly they are there in technological environments with each other on a regular basis. And connection and collaboration with others are essential, not only to their learning, but even to their mental and physical and even emotional health. We must remind our students that responsible communication practice puts forth the best representation of who they are as individuals in every relationship and alliance that make in their lives. Whether talking face to face, blogging, texting, creating a visual product, their values and beliefs, they're all defined by how well they communicate with others. And encouraging them to develop and hone every aspect of the communication skills will serve them well in both their personal and professional lives. What comes under ethics, actions, and accountability? This includes adaptability, personal accountability, environmental awareness, empathy, tolerance, global awareness. And these are the many characteristics of the global digital citizen. To be a well rounded and responsible global citizen, you must practice personal, global, and online responsibilities that in order to create a better world for everyone. Teaching our kids about global awareness and internet safety have therefore become mainstream practices in education. Let us talk about the benefits of online education. What can be gained from online classes? Foremost, we know that it is student centered. Every student has his or her way of learning that works for them. It's therefore self-paced. It's cost effective because you save on the additional cost that you would otherwise spend on accommodation. It's faster, it's convenient, it's consistent. You have easy accessibility because online courses, online materials can be accessed 24 hours a day, every day. And it is easy as well. There is chance for interaction because you come across students and teachers who share their knowledge. The students are exposed to knowledge shared by the instructors around the globe, which cannot be learned in books. Now, there are more reasons why children should get involved in online education. And e learning has made the world of learning better, more conducive, more convenient, with less energy consumption. And it offers enough time to study at your pace and lots more, all geared to achieving your education to any level you may want without any barrier of location and access to information. Online classes are rewarding and fun, but the process of learning can be challenging for both students and parents because I feel it's the online classes these days that are putting parents to test. So, why not talk about some challenges? To begin with, it's adapting to change. It's accepted that the only thing in life that is certain is change. Isn't that the truth? As hard as we try to maintain predictable routines and regularity, unforeseen circumstances can lead us to face change whether we are ready for it or not. For adults and children alike, the ability to adapt to life's inevitable changes is an invaluable skill to have. Unfortunately, it's not a skill that comes naturally to many of us, especially young children. And therefore, it can be unnerving for students to interact and be actively engaged as they have been familiar to classroom settings and traditional learning. If I'm sure if I ask you, have you ever experienced uh, different behavior from your children, like a day of moodiness, whining, irritability, meltdowns? Nothing goes right for them. They're just not ready to attend online sessions. Yes, that's because they are anxious. They have not adapted to change. As a parent, what is it that we can do? Be extra patient. Remember that aggressive behavior is normal during times of change. We could prepare our child for the change to come. Reassure your child of what is familiar. Tell them you are going to have the same group of students, you're going to have your class teacher, it's the same school, you have the same learning as in terms of curriculum that is going to be taken up, and maintain routines as much as possible. One of the major concerns these days is how do we stay connected with the school and teacher? So let me tell you, it's time for upgrade for all of us. 2020 has raised unprecedented challenges as educators, young scholars, and families continue distance learning. It's transitioning from an in classroom curriculum to a Zoom based or digital platform education that has brought about, or it can bring up, communication gaps between teachers and parents. And therefore, cultivating a partnership with your child's teacher is essential for a successful distance learning experience. But how do I do that? So, here are a few tips on how you can stay connected. Make introductions early and keep an empathetic tone. Now, although we are physically distant, that does not mean that we have to be socially disconnected. If you haven't introduced yourself to your child's new teacher or to your child's teacher who you already know or have known in the past, what is it that you can do? It's through a simple email message like, hello, I am Nida, uh, Ali's mother, and I'm looking forward to working together to help make this year a success. Ask solution oriented questions. Now, all of us are working online, we are working from home, we are currently multitasking, and parents with a full workload might struggle with managing their child's learning. If your child isn't grasping a lesson or a concept, consider focusing on solutions rather than a perceived failure. By asking questions such as, how can I support my child in maths? How is it that I can help him read or write or help him develop his vocabulary? Or what can we do to help our son feel more confident in maths? So, through these questions, we demonstrate our openness to partner with our children's teacher to fully support the child's growth. What works well for me is that whether be it children or teacher, anyone, I really feel that it is helpful to prepare ahead of a parent teacher communication. Keep your questions handy and keep an open mind to accepting that all the concerns, challenges may not be solved immediately. It will be addressed, it will be worked on, It will take time, and yes, there will be a fruitful result. The other important factor that we need to consider is that we need to be flexible and transparent. What do I mean by this? Now, processes might change, schedules might change, because all of us currently are at home, okay, because of the gadgets that we use, probably because of a working schedule. Share your schedule with your child's teacher to minimize back and forth scheduling. It's like we take an appointment, and then what happens is, oh, so we've got some sudden plan come up and I will not be able to attend. So, be it from anybody's end, it is essential that we share our schedule beforehand to avoid any such kind of rescheduling again and again. Acknowledging the challenges your teacher is facing alongside you and being patient with them throughout the process goes a long way in developing a collaborative and meaningful dialogue. Remember that the teachers want to support you in helping your child succeed. It's easy to forget that taking an entire classroom online is a massive task. Distractions. Distractions and time management, the major concern from most of the parents. As we know, distractions lower productivity, they increase stress, and they ruin your mood. Now, while studying from home or wherever students may be, there can be more distractions than usual, especially when you have your family members, you have possibly younger siblings running around the house or present in the background. Before an online school session begins, have your children eliminate all the environmental distractions that may divert their attention away from distance learning. Clear the room of playful pets or noisy siblings. Minimize background noise by turning off the radio, the TV. Turn off cell phones. No multitasking during class. Have them ensure, that they do not get distracted to the constant buzzing of the phone and messages. Please ask them not to unmute the microphones unless asked to speak. At a given point of time, it's not only the teacher who speaks, but if there are 10 others who are talking together, or even if they're not talking and their microphones are not muted, there will be a lot of disturbance in the background that might distract everyone. So it is not only a child who will get distracted, but other 10 as well. Refrain from eating or drinking during the class. Very important that usually we forget this is that eye contact should be maintained. The teachers need to look at your children. Therefore, videos need to remain on to promote focus. Students should also try to identify a quiet place and a comfortable area to complete their coursework if possible. There are a lot of times when we have these questions from students coming up, or for that matter, even parents, how to set up space for learning. Now, it's very important to remember that virtual school students should be prepared before class. So, how can it be done? Help them organize and file loose papers and worksheets. Students must join the session 5 minutes prior to the actual time and subsequently join all the classes on time. Now, why is it important? Most of the instructions, most of the guidelines given by the teachers are in the first 5 minutes of the class. And if the child misses that, joins in late, then what happens is he will not be able to comprehend what is going on currently, what is expected out of them. And therefore, it is really essential for the students not to be late to join the class. After breaks, we see that they join in late, or they join in late for the first class, and consequently, they are late for all the other sessions of the day. Now, students should also be encouraged, rather, there should be a rule set up that they must use their own names as a username. So, what if you're sharing your gadget? If we have one laptop or probably one desktop, or maybe they're using a parent's phone, have them join in through their username, because currently it's essential that the teachers know the students to be able to have that kind of rapport, build a relationship. We may have new entries, we may have new admission, but if we do not know the students, how are we to interact? So when the teachers see the username, it's through the username that we tend to call out. Create a to do list, encourage them to take notes, appreciate and acknowledge whenever your ward completes what is on their to do list. Now, teaching time management to kids and young adults lets them in on a little secret. We can learn to work smarter instead of working harder. Time management is something that can be practiced, and with a little discipline, eventually it will become a vital asset in the overall skill set of a student. So, help them keep a diary, make them set their own reminders, have them do their to do list. All of it, these are good habits to nurture. Now, why did we talk about the space? Because it's dedicated space that leads to less distraction. And keeping in mind, we must keep in mind that we may need to review this information more than once, particularly if children are young, energetic, or boisterous. Now, although this may seem like a lot to remember, you'll be like, oh God, what is, Ms. Neda saying? There's so much. Believe me, these are just simple rules that we would otherwise follow in traditional classroom expectations or classroom setups. Within a few weeks, and these pointers, I'm sure by now most of us have already been practicing that and it's become second nature. But in case we have not been doing this or whatever we have, whatever rather I have discussed right now, have them include that in their routine. By doing this, they will become familiar with the new way of communicating with teachers and classmates. And there we go. We know children, in fact, not only children, even we adults, we are spending a lot of time in front of our computers, and that has led to tardiness and even eye strain. It causes blurry and dry eyes to frequent headaches and sore eyes. And what is the major source of eye strain today? Of course, it's the screen time. Now, there are ways in which we can avoid those tired eyes. And here are a few easy ways. Use the right text size. Be at a harm and distance. I'll talk about it in a while. Lose the glare. Take frequent breaks. Try an eye massage or shoulder stretch. And be sure you have the right amount of light. When I talk about using the right text size, using 14 font size 14 or higher is good for typing and even reading. And students can always reduce the size before they submit their papers. What do I mean by harm and distance? This is calculated as the space between, or rather the space from a middle knuckle to the center of your elbow. Children should be no closer than that to the computer screen. Lose the glare. There should be no reflection on the computer screen at all. You do need to have the right amount of light. I'm not saying, the children should be seated in a completely dark room. That is not advisable. That will add to the stress and to the strain. But the computer needs to be situated in a manner that this light does not reflect on the screen. Now, very popular way to avoid, or rather very easy, the most common exercise that we all have been practicing, or rather we've been hearing, and this is what comes across from teachers, that in order to avoid eye strain, when you spend long periods of time in front of a computer, use the 20-20-20 rule to give your eyes a break. For example, for every 20 minutes of your work, look away from your computer at something which is 20 feet away for 20 seconds. You may just get onto the balcony or go to the window, probably go onto the terrace, and you can have students practice this. Classroom interaction versus online interaction. There is the difference when we talk about the online schooling versus the traditional classroom setup. Now, talking about linking classes, flipped classrooms, resources, etc., that is being shared. What is it that children can do? The children must watch the videos suggested by the teacher before the live session with the teacher. By doing this, what they can do is they can write down their doubts so that the discussion is productive. Instead of the teacher explaining, children going back and they're just not using their analytical thinking, they're not thinking critically. What the students should be encouraged to do is watch the videos, take down a reflection sheet, write down what you know, what have you learned, what is it that you still want to know. And then what else students can do is use the chat as a precursor to discussion. Now, why are we talking about this? It's because there are a lot of students and parents who say that we want to ask questions in class but don't know how. Or rather, there are students who want to ask questions in class but they don't. So let us understand, why is it that they don't ask questions. First of all, it may be because they are shy. That's the most obvious reason why a student would not volunteer to raise his or her hand with a question. Fear of peers. They're conscious about themselves and they worry about what their peers will think if they ask questions to the teacher. Fear of appearing dumb. Oh my God, I don't want to look foolish. I think the chapter has been done and probably I was absent. And, or for that matter, even if the content has already been taught, suddenly it appears to be very unfamiliar. It seems like a foreign language. So we fear, the students fear, oh, what, I'll appear unintelligent, or maybe they would be thinking that I'm not paying attention. Or at times, they have none of these reasons. They are not shy. They don't have any kind of fear, but there is difficulty framing the question. So that happens when students who are learning English or who are in the process of learning English, they may be hesitant and unclear about how to structure the sentence grammatically. Now, what can be done? What can be encouraged as parents, as teachers? What is it that we can tell our children? Arrive early for small talk. Be on camera in the virtual classroom before your peers join and introduce yourself to your teacher. So, this is going to help them build a strong relationship, develop confidence, help them feel more comfortable, and then they can put forth their question. Or they could type in the chat box that, ma'am, I have a question for you. Could you please stay back after the class? I'm sure they would not say no to that. If there is fear of feeling shy, or probably because of appearing dumb, or because of any kind of peer influence, what is it that they can do is organize group questions. So in groups they all brainstorm together to come up with questions for the teacher, and at one go, instead of 10 children asking 10 different questions, we have this question and answer round, and all the doubts are cleared. Other way, what they can do is prepare the question in advance. That will save on a lot of time. Yes, and definitely, children must be taught to keep their questions and answers short and up to and on topic, precise and concise. Students must know how to raise their virtual hand. You have the option there on Cisco, on Zoom, Google Meet, possibly. If not, just ask them to raise their hands and wait to be recognized when responding to a question or comment. So these are some ways whereby students can confidently come forth and put forth their questions and queries. Now, talking about motivation and dedication, we see working towards any goal requires dedication and motivation. And on the face of it, studying online can seem fraught with opportunities to lose these qualities because there's this unlimited distraction of already being on the internet. There is social media, there is YouTube, there is Facebook, there is Instagram, and then you have so many games. So, a lot of valuable study time can pass if students don't monitor their internet usage. And given the nature of online learning, motivation in particular takes a hit too. Now, what can be done? How can parents help them? We see students are not robots, they are humans. They're like any other person. And who does not like to be rewarded? It's simple. Reward student success. Praise helps build self esteem and self confidence, which in turn helps motivate student to move on to the right task. You see, correction does much more, but encouragement does even more. So it's motivation that gets you started, but it's discipline that keeps you going. And to conclude, Learning knows no bounds. Yes, as parents, at the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement. In the 21st century classroom, it is imperative that technology becomes a part of the student learning to reach outcomes within the curriculum. Students need to know, understand the connection their learning has, how their learning can continue to grow, how they are connected with the world, and most importantly, to be lifelong learners. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Nida, for an informative and engaging session.
My pleasure.
I now invite Ms. Hina to take questions from the parents. So there is one question from Mr. Anil Thakur. He wants to know what kind of safety rules should the child follow in the classroom.
All right. Good evening to all listening to me today, and let me really appreciate Miss Nida for a wonderful session, which was all encompassing. It spoke about the advantages, disadvantages, and how parents can help children learn better with e-learning portals. Yes, that was good. Miss
Thank you.
Avinash, can I request you to repeat the question?
Yes.
Mr. Thakur has, yeah.
Yes, Ms. Anil Thakur asked what kind of safety rules should one follow while in the classroom, in an online classroom?
All right. So to answer to this question, let us understand safety in two ways. One is the safety with the gadgets. That is, because it's an electronic gadget, electricity is involved. We need to be very careful when we are using the gadget that we are using for e-learning. So we need to be careful in terms of plugging in and plugging out. That is, of course, about the physical safety. But apart from that, it is very important, as Ms. Nida also mentioned, not to get distracted by the various other distractions which are available online. Internet is it's on fingertips, you can say, and children very especially small children, children who do not have regular access to internet may get lured in by multiple you can say sites, websites. So we need to be very careful about, we need to be disciplined when we are looking at e-learning, and we should not get lured by other sites. When we are studying online, it has to be for that same purpose. We need to study online and do nothing else apart from studies. Only then we can have a focused learning. So those two types of safety, I suppose, I'm sure I've answered the question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, Miss Purva wants to know if you can elaborate a little more about what kind of routines to be followed by kids for learning better nowadays.
Yeah, that's a very nice question, because I think many parents have this concern as to how to set up a routine when the children are at home. Because when there is a physical school, the children wake up at a given time, they get dressed, and they, leave for school. And then for around 6 to 7 hours, they are in school. And hence the routine is taken care of. But when this teaching has become online and it's from home, setting up a routine does become a challenge. But I would suggest and I would recommend a timetable for all these parents who can make a timetable, sit and explain to the child that this is not something that you can take lightly. On learning, e-learning, online learning is not to be taken lightly at all, and we need to have our own set timetable for it. The schools are also doing the needful. They are also sending timetables. They are sending, the class timetable, the examination timetable, and so on and so forth. But apart from that, a proper study timetable should be maintained by the parents, and it should be shared with the children. Whenever a parent makes a timetable, it is important that they sit with the child and they take the child into confidence and then make the timetable, only then the child will feel responsible to abide by that timetable. And therefore, and thereby he or she would be able to focus better in studies if there's a timetable. Yes, and we should not forget that despite the fact that schooling has become online, we should not forget that they should also have playtime in the timetable. They should be given that break, the playtime, the me time. They can develop some hobbies, and they can use some time to develop their hobbies as well. But having said so, a timetable becomes a mandatory thing if a child needs to focus on studies, and if the parent wants the child to have proper focus studies. I can see a question here. Ms. Avinash, will you be taking that question, Mr. Arav Dwivedi?
Um, Ma'am, you can take that question.
Okay, I can see a question here. Mr. Arav Dwivedi, what is the rule? Um,
A
no,
little align.
yeah, I think there is Purva Meshram, who says, I'm a working mother working from home at present. Please guide us as to how to manage office work and child's daily routine studies effectively. I can understand the dilemma that this parent might be having, because she has to definitely pay attention to both and balance both. That is the work from home as well as take care of child studies. In most cases, work from home, although flexible, is also demanding. Okay, so the key word over here is preparation. So when you're prepared for your work, office work, when you're prepared for your office work beforehand, and when you balance out your timetable, in fact, here the adults also need to make their own timetable. When they balance out their time between the office work and the study time, it becomes easier for them to focus on both. So if a parent is a working parent, he or she can dedicate some time in the evening to help the child studies, and at the other time I can understand they have to continue with their office work as well. But in this case, evenings are the time when they can spend some quality time. They can discuss what has happened in school, because I'm sure the child is also having online schooling. So they can discuss what has happened in school. They can do some worksheets, some studies at home in the evening time. They can dedicate these working parents can dedicate at least 1 and 1.5 hour with the child and with the child studies. That that suits fine, because I don't think we need to continuously be behind the child for studies. 1 hour or 1.5 hour of dedicated time is good enough to help the child studies as well.
Ma'am, there is a question by Mr. Pankaj Jaiswal. He wants to know how to control screen time and keep the kids engaged in other activities.
Yes, this has been a very common question. Screen time, since the time online learning has gained grounds, screen time has become a major concern for parents. Somewhere, I feel personally that before this online schooling, also, our children were glued to the screen, whether it was a telephone, or whether it was a gadget, or whether it was a television. What has happened is the screen time has become more prominent now, because teaching is also involved now. So here, what the schools do, they have taken a conscious decision to make the school time short. The classes are shorter, so that the children don't have to spend too much of time in front of screen. Also, with the breaks, most of the schools have their classes with optimum breaks. Okay, so there is no continuous screen time for the child. That is, of course, with regards to the school. But after school also, there are children who are required to do research work, who are required to do studies, check out on videos. Children are required to do some worksheets, which are again received on mail or via some app. So yes, the screen time has increased, and what we need to do is we have to make conscious efforts to see to it that a child is never in front of the screen for more than 20 to 25 minutes at a stretch. If a child is big enough, we can explain to the child, and we can make the timetable in such a way that the child gets enough breaks. And if a child is small, then it becomes important for the parents to guide and help the children and see to it that they do not stick to the screen for more than 20 to 25 minutes at one go. At the same time, there are other exercises, as the Ms. Nida spoke about, eye massages, 20-20-20 system. And yes, the distance, the optimal distance that the child should have from the screen. Using such methods also, we can negate the adverse effects of screen time.
Thank you, ma'am. I believe, Miss Nida, do you have something to add to this?
Yes, if I may. Well, what I feel we could do is definitely take baby steps, because nothing can be achieved, in a fortnight or so. So we need to make gradual changes. Does your child consistently reach out for phones or tablets after school or hours? So that needs to be cut down. Now, we need to start with small changes. Then, very important, what I personally feel, even for myself, is unplug all the devices from the bedroom, because having devices available in the bedroom, interferes with the sleep, and it makes children fall asleep a little later than they would otherwise do. So, and not sleeping at night is what makes them lose out on their energy and makes them cranky during the day. So keep as many screens as you can out of your bedroom. Have all the computers, the cell phones, the tablets, in a central location where you can monitor the time spent in front of them. As ma'am pointed out already, that you need to create a screen time schedule. Okay, so just make sure that we must ensure that the children do not use the screen while they are eating during meals, or 2 or 3 hours prior to their bedtime. And what I really feel works is out of sight, out of mind. So put the devices away in a place where it is out of reach, where the children cannot see them. I'm not talking about during classes, I'm not talking about during their schooling hours. It's just that after that, when they play, there are so many online games that they are linked to, sort of glued to. So we must avoid giving them that leisure to be consistently and constantly in front of them. So if it is easier to forget if it's not in front of them. Encourage
Also,
other activities. That would
yeah.
also help.
Also, I would like to add on here is, if the parents, because right now lockdowns are there and parents are also at home, and if the parents are at home, we can develop a habit of having a playtime, board game playing, or
Yes.
a playtime which is not linked with computers or any other gadget. Even parents, should become the role models in front of their children, and they should also try to reduce their own screen time, thereby imbibing the same kind of value in the child, so that child unknowingly knows. I mean, the child sees the parent moving away from screen time consciously, and even the child will start learning on that. And that has worked with a couple of parents, whom we have earlier kind of counseled.
Absolutely, ma'am. I second that we must do it as a family, because that's when the child will look at everyone and even learn. So probably, as a routine, we could have no screens during meals, then no screens until the homework and all the daily chores have been done. Then
Correct.
screens should be turned off at a set time every night. And all the gadgets should be kept in a public room, and no screens in bedrooms. So I feel, yes, as a family, we can all follow these rules.
Yes.
I
So
completely
true.
agree. Ma'am, I have one question. Um, the students, they go through the entire drill in the morning, and they are going through their classes, everything is there. However, are there any tips that you would like to give, so that the child can prepare for the next day? Like, what kind of tips would you give for the child to prepare for the classes, the upcoming classes?
Okay, so you mean to say what should be the child's preparation? Not the
Yes,
parents' preparation, the child's preparation.
yes.
Okay.
I feel it's interlinked. If you can cover both, that would be great.
Yeah. All right. So that's a very nice question. Yes, it is because this school has reached out to the home, and children are learning from home. It's bound to get a bit casual. Okay, children become a bit casual because they feel they are able to study in their night dresses. They don't need to wear the uniform and come to school. Parents become casual because they feel that since it's online schooling, even if the child misses out on certain things, teachers will provide with worksheets and other handouts which will help the child, and since they are at home they can also do additional work with them. So yes, the casual approach definitely hampers the child's preparation for next day. But what we can do is the first suggestion that I would give is to keep the timetable handy. Okay, look at the timetable and keep the books on the table also ready. Not only the books but also the work that the teachers have instructed the children to do. Check out on whether it has been done or not. Keep a notebook ready with the to do list. Okay, because a to do list is very important, especially for children who are third grade onwards. We in our school we start teaching them note taking. They can start making notes, and they can actually go through every evening before they are done with the day's work. They can every evening go back to that note and see whether they have done everything that was required for them to do for that particular day, whether they are ready for the next day or not. Keep the books and notebooks ready, as I told you. And yes, very important, be 5 minutes before the class begins. That also sets them actually makes them ready for the class. For the parents, what is important is that they should continuously drill this thing in the child's mind that online education or online teaching or online school is not to be taken lightly. It is something that should have a routine. You have to be disciplined and responsible, and even if you are not wearing uniform, you need to be presentable. You need to be ready after your daily morning brushing, and be refreshed before you attend the classes. It becomes important because when it comes from the parents side, and when the children see that parents are taking serious interest in online schooling, children also start doing the same. So yes, preparation is important, and this way they can prepare.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Nida, and thank you, Miss Hina, ma'am. And thank you all for joining us today. I sincerely hope this webinar has given you the tools to make online learning engaging and effective for your child. We'll see you in the next webinar. Thank you
uh,
and have a nice day.
Miss Avinash, I can still see some questions. Maybe we can jot down the questions and send them the replies later.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to
I
take
think
the
there is one which Mr. Pankaj Jaiswal has posted. Uh, yes, in addition to regular classes, if schools can help with some art and craft tutorial kit or some science experiments, etc., for engaging them productively. Okay, so they are asking the schools, most of the schools, Mr. Pankaj, am I audible?
yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Pankaj, most of the schools have taken this into account, and we do offer art and craft classes or yoga classes or science experiments also. Most schools, in their own teaching periods, also help the child do certain activities and research for certain activities so that children are engaged effectively and productively even post school. However, if that is not the case, what we can do is there are n number of activities available online, and you can also request the teachers to send you some kind of websites or some kind of links which can help children learn art and craft or some kind of experiments that they would like to do at home. And I'm sure children would love to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll see you in the next webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.